Hey, what's up guys, it's Darius, and who would have thought that Apple would release a smartphone that costs $1,000 less than a Samsung? In this video, I'll be comparing the cameras of the brand new $400 iPhone SE and the $1,400 Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra 5G. By the way, I'm filming this shot with both rear-facing cameras. It's being shot handheld, and you'll always see in the corner what camera you're currently looking at and what audio you're listening to. I chose to shoot this in 4K 30. I know the Galaxy S20 also shoots 8K video, which is incredible. However, it does crop in quite a bit, and the colors are also a little better on the regular 4K mode.
Let's quickly check out the cameras, and you immediately see that these two don't even play in the same league. On the S20 Ultra, you find a massive camera module that sticks out. It is packing a 5-camera setup, including an ultra-wide, a 108 megapixel wide sensor, a depth sensor, as well as a 48 megapixel periscope telephoto lens that enables the crazy 100x zoom. The iPhone SE, on the other hand, is packing a single 12 megapixel sensor, which in fact is the exact same one as on the iPhone 8, just with improved image processing thanks to its newer processor. But do these specs actually matter? How did they transfer into real-world image quality?
Do note that this comparison is just for fun. I know that you can get a lot more functionality out of the crazy 5-camera setup on the S20 Ultra, but I just wanted to show the overall image quality of the main sensors in a more average user type of setting.
But now let's finally have a look at the images. Let's start with good lighting. Most pictures are actually a lot closer than I would have thought. In many cases, it's actually personal preference which of the two you prefer. That said, of course, there are quite a few differences. In general, as you already saw in the video, the iPhone tends to go for a warmer look, which for the most part results in more accurate colors. Now, of course, there are exceptions, but overall, I'd say the iPhone did better in terms of colors. Here's a perfect example where the S20 Ultra is just way too blue and the iPhone does a much better job. Dynamic range is actually quite similar, although in some cases it might not appear so. The S20 Ultra's images tend to have more contrast, which makes it look like the iPhone has more detail in the shadow, but that's not actually the case. It's just a different type of image processing, and it's really personal preference which of the two you prefer. In terms of detail, the Galaxy S20 Ultra does a much better job for the most part. Like I said, it has a 108 megapixel sensor, but it uses pixel binning to create a 12 megapixel image, which obviously has much more detail than the just regular 12 megapixel image of the iPhone. Weirdly enough though, when you're just looking at the images from afar, without zooming in, the iPhone appears to be much sharper. And that is because the S20 Ultra suffers from fringing. You can really see it well in this example just by zooming in a little bit. I don't really know why this is the case, but my guess is because the sensor on the Galaxy S20 Ultra is just so much bigger than a regular smartphone camera sensor. And since the aperture is fixed, when you take a close-up image, it results in a much more shallow depth of field compared to on the iPhone, for example, but it also means that it appears to be out of focus because only a tiny area of the subject is actually in focus. The thing is, you have to zoom in quite a bit to actually see it. Now, this obviously isn't ideal, and ideally should be addressed with a software update by Samsung, but I'm not even sure if that's possible. Do note that all of these examples were not taken in portrait mode. We'll get to that later. This is just natural bokeh. This is not quite low light, but on the iPhone you immediately notice that there's less light to work with. Here's an example where it's a little washed out and lacks saturation. In this example, the S20 isn't much sharper, but it just overall looks so much better. On the other hand, here's another example where the iPhone is actually better. Although it does have a little more noise, the S20 smudges that noise and tries to remove it, which doesn't look very good. The iPhone is also sharper, has better colors, better skin tones, and is a little brighter as well. Now let's actually quickly check out portrait mode. Edge detection is something that smartphones definitely struggle with, and here they're about the same. They both do a pretty good job, but they're both not perfect. A main difference are again the colors. The iPhone is a lot warmer, while the S20 is a lot cooler again. In reality, it's about in the middle. I tend to prefer the iPhone's colors again though. The S20 did something very weird with my hair in these examples. I don't really know what it is. It tried some processing and it resulted in really weird looking hair. But in this case, the edge detection is better on the S20. I'd say it's thanks to its depth sensor, which the iPhone doesn't have. It just has software processing because it only has a single lens. In this last example, you can also see my face is a lot wider on the S20, and that's because it zoomed in a lot more than the iPhone did. So we took the photo from a little further behind. We still have this hair smoothing going on, but it's not as bad as in the previous examples. There's also a little more contrast in the S20, which I think overall took a better image. Now let's move on to low light. The S20 Ultra tends to take brighter images with better colors. The iPhone again has more noise, but the S20 tries to smooth it out, which doesn't always look great. Here we have a very difficult situation because the background is a lot brighter than the foreground, and the S20 is just miles better. The iPhone is very washed out, has pretty much no saturation, not much detail, and that's because of the lack of a night mode. The S20 overdoes it a little bit in terms of saturation in the background, but it's still miles better. And this is a trend we see often. Here is another example. The iPhone takes a really washed out image. You really notice the lack of the night mode, which is just so unfortunate. If you just saw this image like that, it's not that awful, but next to the S20's, it's just so much worse. The S20's image doesn't even look like it was taken in low light. That's how good the night mode is. And I don't have to tell you that it's brighter, sharper, and more saturated.
To conclude, they both have incredible cameras and you will be very happy with either of the two. The S20 Ultra is a lot more versatile with that crazy 5-camera setup, including a zoom and an ultra wide. The iPhone, on the other hand, just has a single lens, but it's still very, very capable, and I was very impressed to how well it did and what Apple could do with that new A13 chip. In good lighting, most of the time there isn't a clear winner. The iPhone tends to have more accurate colors, but I actually really like both of the two cameras. Let me know which of the two you prefer in the comments below. As you know, the Galaxy S20 Ultra sadly has this fringing issue, which definitely has to be addressed with a software update, if that's even possible. In low light, the iPhone sadly falls apart due to the lack of a night mode. The S20 Ultra does a much better job, and it would be quite nice if the iPhone SE did have a night mode. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to smash the like button, leave a comment down below which of the two cameras you did prefer, also about the video quality, how they compared. Make sure you're subscribed for my upcoming videos and you've hit the notification bell so you not miss any of those, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.